Okay, straight in. Here we go. Part B. You take your pipe, okay? You take it apart, okay? And I'm going to use one of these bristle cleaners. I often pour my alcohol into little bottles like this. I find it just handier than using the big bottle. Secret with it is use it very, very sparingly. So you just dip it in just a little bit like that, and you shake it off, okay? And you really use it very, very sparingly, and you will see why. Get a tissue out there on the table, and in you go, like that. And I smoked this pipe yesterday a couple of times. I don't think I've alcohol cleaned it since then. Now you can hear this bristle cleaner, okay? Look, hear that. That's really digging in. Watch what happens. Look at that. Now that is a very clean pipe because I'd alcohol cleaned it. I don't smoke this pipe not very often. It's a very good pipe, and actually that's quite clean. So not a lot's coming out. But with the bristle cleaner, a lot comes out. It's quite dark there. Maybe you can see that the light is kind of making it look lighter, but it's quite dark. If you use a normal pipe cleaner like one of these, which you can do also, you know, you will get some stuff out. I mean, I didn't dip this in alcohol, but you'll get some stuff out. There's really not a lot coming out there. I just swear by the bristle cleaners. For your alcohol cleaner, really try to check it out. Really try to purchase these. If you can't, you know, you just use a regular pipe cleaner. But again, I will say again, you really just dip in a tiny bit in the bottle, and I sort of brush the excess of alcohol off the side. Okay, I don't really worry too much about using the bristle cleaners on the stem. Okay, now this is why I say a little bit of alcohol. You're not even going to see this, but as soon as I start pushing that in there, a little drop, what happens is the alcohol starts pushing up here. Okay, so there we go. So that's why you really want to be very, very sparing with the alcohol, because it starts dripping everywhere. That will take the finish off your pipe, your varnish. It will dull a varnish if it's a varnish pipe. It will also dull your vulcanite stem if it's a vulcanite stem. So use very sparingly, because it will drip everywhere anyway, and have a tissue, as I have here, kind of placed underneath to catch the stuff. Okay, and that's really it. Do it a couple of times. Again, just the first inch, first couple of centimeters of the pipe cleaner dipped in the alcohol, and you brush off the excess of alcohol. That's it. And then we come to the second part. So we've cleaned out that, very nice. Again, taking the alcohol, and you really just dip the cotton bud in just a very little bit and just wipe off the excess there. That's all you do. And what you want to do then is get into the shank chamber. Okay, this I don't have to do with a filter pipe, because it is more or less the same system. But this little bit I do now here with the shank and the Q-tip is obviously the same with a filter pipe, except on a filter pipe, I mean, you can see there's quite a bit coming off there. Look at that, and that's only a couple of smokes in that since I did the last alcohol cleaning. It was very, very clean pipe, so that's it. There you go. And you know, as I said, on a filter pipe you will have a bigger chamber here. You'll have quite a big chamber here for your filter. So obviously you'll do it more in there like that with a filter pipe. Okay. So actually these Q-tips on the alcohol cleaning is very important. There you go. Now what I always do when I clean with alcohol, I always use a wet one and a dry one. So this has been dipped in alcohol, we've cleaned that. So then I straight it off, I dry it away, off straight away, because that means the wood doesn't absorb too much. So very quickly I dry that off. There we go. Drying that off right now. There she comes. There she goes, drying that off now. Okay. Another thing I do is, you can still do it with the same one that you've just used, as long as it's not too dirty. And you don't have to do this every alcohol cleaning, but certainly every second alcohol cleaning. So every 2 months, you need to do this. And it's still a bit wet, it's not too dirty, so I can use that. And I just very quickly go in and around the bowl like that, and upside down. Yeah, up and down the sides of the bowl, up and down, and then around like that. A little bit, a little bit of alcohol. And you can see all the black coming off there. Okay. Then I take the dry end also, and that's it. And I kind of dry off. So I always, now, tell you a couple of things on this. Okay, lots of gunk coming out there. Now you smell that, and that smells fantastic, okay? And that's another reason I swear by using something like rum or bourbon or whiskey, and I swear by my brown rum in particular. Because it just smells lovely. Now, if that was a fairly new pipe, you wouldn't want to do that. As you start cleaning that with the Q-tip, the inside of the bowl, you're wiping off the cake that you've been building up. So don't really do that on a new pipe. Don't do it for the first couple of months. But once the cake is built up, do it. And what it does is it kind of does a mini salt and alcohol treatment, and it keeps that cake sweet. It stops if you don't have a big pipe collection and you're smoking your pipes a lot. It will stop it getting sour. So it's a kind of mini salt and alcohol treatment, which is what you do to keep the pipe sweet, and that's really it. So again, just to recap, I just make sure I dried off with a nice dry one. I'm just kind of doing it extra sure. I've got a nice dry one, and I really dry off. There we go. So we've done, we've done the top here, and if it was a filter, we would go in deeper. Where the filter chamber is, we would do that more. I've done inside here. I've done the bowl. I've done the drill hole with the bristle cleaners that are really good on the alcohol cleaning, and that's kind of it. Okay. Now, if you're quite anal, or if you're quite clever, part of the alcohol cleaning would be this. Maybe just a little bit of alcohol dipped on a bent over one. What I often do is I pour a little bit into the lid of the bottle, and you just kind of do that. And just a little bit, and then you go in there. Okay? So you want to get that nice end with a bent over one. Now you can't use a Q-tip because the Q-tip won't fit in there, but that's just a tiny little drop. Again, use the alcohol very sparingly. And actually, I haven't used this end. I only use the thick end. I haven't used it, so I can get a little tiny drop, just a little bit in there, and I can do that. And that's just really just to make sure the stem is nice and alcohol clean as well. Okay, hear that bristle? That bristle is great. Hear that? Look at that, lovely. Okay, so there you go. And that just smells great. And that's her. And of course, give her a wipe off while you're there. Just make sure there's no alcohol left on there, because it will stain this finish. Another reason, just to highlight this, use the alcohol very sparingly. Always dry off. So if you're using a wet one, use the wet one and then use the dry one. Same with the Q-tip. If you use the Q-tip, use the wet end and then use the dry end. One of those reasons, as I've mentioned, is the varnish. But also, you often get these bands, and these bands are sometimes stuck on with adhesives. So, and also they have little logos which wear off on the stem. So really, if you're splashing around with the alcohol too much, you might just kind of unglue the brass stem on a lesser well-made pipe. Okay, so that's it with the alcohol cleaning. Remember, you don't always have to clean the bowl out with an alcohol-dipped Q-tip, particularly on a new pipe. Don't do it. Don't do it too much. Again, use a wet end, a dry end, always alternating so that it doesn't soak up too much of the alcohol into the wood, because you don't want it to. Because alcohol is a fuel. It will aid burning, so you don't really want to help it to create burnout in your pipe. That's really it. I clean the tip, remember, at the end. Okay. Again, I repeat, on a filter pipe, you go into the chambers more with the Q-tips. Okay. And if you don't want to use Q-tips, that's fine. You don't have to use Q-tips. If you don't have Q-tips, do it with a bent over pipe cleaner. For the bowl, also for inside here, use a bent over one instead of Q-tips. However, Q-tips are better. Again, you don't have to use bristle cleaners, but they are better than the regular cleaner. And I've said it before, and I will say it again, there's a lot of bad pipe cleaners out there. Try to get a source for good quality ones which are good, thick, dense cotton on there, and the wire isn't too flimsy, so they actually